Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be quite different from my usual content, but I do hope you enjoy it nonetheless. Just recently, I was invited by the developers of AFK Arena and Disliked to join their closed beta test for AFK Journey, which you can think of as a spiritual successor to AFK Arena. Although I should clarify they have fundamentally different gameplay. But for those of you who know of or play AFK Arena, you'd be happy to know this is made by the same creators. Right now the game is in closed beta, but the good news is AFK Journey is scheduled to come out not too long from now. You can expect the official release date to be on March 26th. I have a link for the pre-registration in the description, which I recommend you check out. In any case, I wanted to take some time to go over the game and give my general thoughts on it, what I like about it, and the things I think it could improve on. I know given the recent controversy surrounding Genshin, many people are on the fence about quitting or maybe not investing as much time into the game as they once have. If you're one of those people, then I suggest you give this one a look into. I'll be giving a brief overview of the game's mechanics and features, then offer my opinion on aspects of the game that I find notable. I want to first start off by addressing the platform question you might have for Journey. Unlike AFK Arena, which is exclusively on mobile devices, AFK Journey will be a cross-platform title for both PC and mobile, much like how Genshin and Star Rail are, which means you can play it on your phone while out and about, and when you come home you can have it up on your computer. The core experience of Journey has you overseeing your main avatar, a gifted mage who suffers from chronic amnesia, traveling the world of Vesperia with a band of ragtag individuals. The overall features a top-down perspective, having you navigate through pathways and terrain, interacting with NPCs, clearing obstacles, locating waypoints and chests, and of course, fighting enemies. If I were to draw a comparison, the transition from overworld to combat is almost identical to Honkai Star Rail, including the things you're expected to do in the overworld. Like Star Rail, most of your interactive experiences come down to the combat system. Being an idle game, Journey affords you an auto battle system if you enjoy games with that feature. As to the combat, how it works is there are enemies situated on a hex map along with obstacles, hazards, and other forms of terrain. Before beginning the fight, you can arrange the position of your units in a predetermined section of the map. Positioning greatly influences the outcome of fights, especially when you start encountering more sophisticated groups of enemies and bosses. Once you engage, both sides play out on their own, very reminiscent of auto chess games like Teamfight Tactics. Throughout the fight, your units will gradually prime their ultimate abilities, which you can activate by clicking on the icons at the bottom of the screen. Abilities differ from one character to the next, but virtually all of them have a limited cast range. This is why position matters a lot, not just for your team but for the enemies. For example, if you keep your units tightly packed, healing and defensive abilities can affect the entire party, but doing so can run the risk of it backfiring when the enemy has an attack that punishes you for consolidating all your units. So, like other position-based tactical RPGs, unit placement is the central focus of Journey. It actually reminds me a lot of Blue Archive in regards to knowing when to use actives and where to position your units. Having played many games of this type, my usual strategy is a straightforward front to back where I have my tanks up front, DPS in the middle, and supports in the back. But more often than not, you're expected to switch things up since games like these have units that specialize in sneaking behind and taking out your backline. Aside from characters, there are the aforementioned obstacles and hazards you'll run into. Battles may contain walls that can throw a wrench into many things in combat. For example, you might be forced to navigate through a choke point to reach the other side, or enemies can hide behind them and use them as cover. In the early game, you come across explosive barrels, which by clicking on them allow you to deal heavy damage to a nearby area that hurts both friend and foe, so you have to know when you should or shouldn't use them. It's a fairly simple premise with a lot of room for depth. While there is an auto battle feature, you tend to have to manually play through the more difficult challenges, especially in regards to saving your defensive or healing abilities right before the enemy uses a heavy attack or something like that. Moreover, there's a huge micromanagement aspect too. So while mechanically Journey doesn't ask much of you, strategically it does. And I'm personally a big fan of strategy games than mechanical ones. Games like these naturally require a wide variety of units too, which is always good to have as it means combat doesn't become monotonous with the same group of 5 units forever, assuming they balance things properly. As you can see, it's a very simple premise, but one that can grow really well if executed correctly. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the characters, the heartbeat of any gacha. I plan to go over more of the game's details when it comes out for real, so we'll focus mostly on what I think about it so far. If you guys want, I can make a beginner's guide, so let me know in the comments below. Few things I took notice to right away. I like that Journey has an evolution system and not a constellation system. I've always been more a fan of limit breaks or acquiring copies of a unit increasing their strength, not unlocking new aspects of their gameplay, because to me, characters should be fully complete on arrival. There shouldn't be any hidden features or mechanics to them locked behind the paywall. Extra units should only increase their stats, no more, no less. Apart from leveling and descending them, you can also give equips. Now this is one quality of life feature that I wish more gacha games did. Equipment applies universally, meaning you only need one set of equips to gear up every member of that class. I can't begin to explain how convenient this is. I understand it's cool to have varying equipment sets and whatnot, especially for Genshin and Star Rail, whose artifacts and relics can define a playstyle for characters, but having to only get equipment once means you don't have to waste time and effort gearing up new characters when you get them, which can bog down the experience for players who have to pause everything they're doing just to farm for that specific unit. You just have to level them up. And if Journey's the type of game to encourage using a ton of units, an equipment system like this is one I can get behind. Another aspect of the equipment system is artifacts. No, not like Genshin artifacts, don't worry. These are special boosts you give to your entire party. For example, the first one you get gives bonus attack, physical, and magic damage and recovers your 3 most injured units midway through the fight. Again, universal buffs are appreciated. So far, there are only 6 from what I can see, but I do hope more become available as you progress, so you can mix and match ones that you like having. It bears repeating that these are mostly my first impressions. I can't speak for how things turn out towards the mid to late game, whether this works against the game or not. But at least in the beginning, this is excellent. Characters are easy to learn and understand, and you can get started on them almost immediately after obtaining them. Speaking of obtaining them, let's talk about the gacha system next, the part that tends to make or break whether a gacha is worth playing or not. To reiterate, this is still in the closed beta, so everything is subject to change, and there are factors that I don't have access to, such as how many pulls you can get for money and how many weekly pulls you get for free. But based on what I've experienced so far, Journey has a pretty lenient gacha system. The standard banner has a 5-star rate of just above 2%. Not the best, but certainly not the lowest I've seen. The cool thing is that they have a wishlist feature, letting you narrow down the pool of available units to pull for. This allows you to avoid specific units you don't want and focus on getting the ones you do. They also appear to have a very generous pity system. For example, the standard banner has a pity of, I believe, only 30 pulls, so you can expect to get more epic heroes more frequently. The epic banner lets you choose 5 units you want and be guaranteed to obtain one of those 5 every 10 pulls. Moreover, on the epic banner, they have a 5-star rate of over 5%. It's important to note that rates alone don't paint the full picture. Some gachas have terrible 5-star rates, but that's usually compensated by them being more significant in combat compared to their 4-star counterparts, or they just give a ton of pulls. The inverse might apply to Journey, where either A, the game is balanced under the expectation that players have most if not all of the epic heroes at their disposal, or B, 5 stars in this game are less OP at base and only reach their full strength with duplicate copies, in which case the generous banner rates go from a luxury to a necessity. I should mention that I never played AFK Arena before, so if any Arena players want to share how the gacha system works in that game, maybe there are similarities here too. For now though, the combination of characters and gacha definitely look more wallet friendly at a surface glance, and even if, worst case scenario, the game necessitates obtaining a lot of epic heroes, that's not too bad either, as it means we can play with more units instead of only being able to enjoy a handful. Interestingly enough, they have a way for you to ascend characters without pulling for them. I checked the currency shop and found soul stones that you can buy with tickets you collect from pulls. Though they are tied to a monthly limit, you can accumulate soul stones to substitute for sigils to ascend characters, which is something I've been begging Hoyo to instate in Genshin and Star Rail, Universal Stella Fortunas, or things of that nature. Alright, enough about the gacha system, let's go over a few more features before I wrap up my initial thoughts. One of AFK's key features is the ability to passively collect resources. True to its name, simply by being AFK you generate money, experience, and powders, whose rates mature the higher level you are. This enables players to quote-unquote grind even if they don't have the time to actively play that much. Quests are available as always to document your progression and offer you items and resources too. And while I don't have access to it yet, you have guild quests that you can undergo as well. So this game will have some semblance of multiplayer interaction and communication, as also evidenced by the global chat they have. On a more cosmetic note, you can customize your avatar from eye, skin, and hair color to hairstyle to your outfit, and even change your character's gender if one day you want to be the other one. So there's an element of creativity for your own character. You can even give yourself a signature too, although it can't be anything inappropriate. It's a small quality of life aspect that isn't consequential to gameplay, but a nice touch nonetheless. Last one that caught my attention was the global chat. You're allowed to communicate with the entire server if you want, so AFK Journey basically has a Discord chat server built into it, letting you talk to other players whenever you want. Curiously, I ran into a couple players discussing the recent layoffs that happened over at Riot Games, which is something I also had my mind on. Anyways, that about sums up what I've been able to gather from the game so far. There are still a ton of features I haven't gained access to, but so far this seems like a very nice and relaxing game that, assuming I'm not proven wrong later, looks really free-to-play friendly. I love the aesthetic of Journey. It's not explicitly anime, but it has that kind of soft feel to it, from the characters to the environment and whatnot. It's easy on the eyes, that's for sure. Music is also top-notch. I might use a few of these tracks for my future videos, who knows? Now, something of import that I believe is worth mentioning, not just to you guys but to the developers as some advice, is that a game like this heavily depends on giving the player things to do. With a finite amount of exploration and ways for people to go off the beaten path, they have to introduce a steady stream of content and game modes to keep players entertained. For example, compared to Genshin, Star Rail goes out of their way to introduce new permanent game modes like Swarm Disaster, Golden Gears, Pure Fiction, and whatnot because they know that Star Rail can't fall back on expansive overworld exploration. AFK Journey's experience will hinge on that too. Once players hit the endgame content wall, it will depend on whether or not the developers add new things to give players a reason to keep playing and grinding. I understand this game is designed around being AFK friendly, but those two aren't mutually exclusive. You can design a game that's for casual and chill players while at the same time catering to those who want to invest more time into it. Whatever form that takes will ensure a stable future for Journey. All in all, I think it makes a solid first impression. The presentation is clean, music is nice to listen to, the combat's intuitive and easy to understand, and overall it gives off a very polished look. It's not just another bootleg run-of-the-mill mobile game. Although being made by the same developers as AFK Arena and Dislight, they're definitely one of the more well-received producers out there, so I have high expectations of this game. If you're interested in checking out AFK Journey next month, you can pre-register now by heading to their website, which I'll have a link in the description for. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below if this game looks interesting to you or not. But for now, if you enjoyed the video, it would be great if you could leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Vars, join my Discord server, and be sure to stay tuned as I'm going to be making a beginner's guide on AFK Journey next month. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.